visual effects. If props are what make a place seem lived in, then VFX are what can make them seem alive in the very first place. And recently, team members have been working with signed distance fields to improve the way that particles in any environment react to everything from asteroids to manufactured structures like space stations and vehicles. It's a technology that can have far-reaching applications in the way our player characters interact with any environment. And it's just one more way we're working to make Star Citizen into a living, breathing universe.
Today we're going to look at some improvements to the particle system, and that's some general improvement that applies to particles through all areas throughout the game. I'm going to start off with showing off some collisions. And as you see here, this is the old particle collision functionality we had. As you can see, the particles are just going straight through the ship and it doesn't look very convincing. What we've done now is that we can take Z-buffer collision, height map collision and SDF and combine this all. So combining these three can create very convincing looking collisions. So now I combine this Z-buffer collision with SDF collision. And as you immediately see, it looks pretty convincing from all angles. In the particle shaders, we have a fairly accurate physics computation. We bring in a lot of aspects such as drag and friction, and particles can bounce a couple of times and then they transform into a sliding motion. So we try to be as physically accurate as we can within still being good performance. We can increase the count of the particles if we want. If I disable the SDF again, well, we get back to this situation. Now we're going to look at the different scenario, and in this case we're going to showcase how the different elements of collision comes together and what each element contributes to the overall visual. So I will start off by enabling collision, and as you can see, it bounces quite convincingly at the movement, but it's not a very complex effect. I will start by adding some effects that will play upon each collision event. Yeah, as you see now, it will spawn these sparks. This gives a better sense of particles and actual impact. Yet the main particle, it sort of comes just to a straight stop. So I'm gonna add some slide to the movement when it reaches. Still looks a little bit odd when it lands. So I'm gonna give it some effects that plays when it's, yes. Add some slide. As you can see, this is a much more interesting looking effect. The main particle collides with the environment. It will shoot out sparks from the collision's position, and when it hits the target, it will eventually, after a couple of bounces, transition into a sliding motion, and while it slides, it will also emit a trail afterwards in its wake. And this technology will apply to all areas of the game, and this is something we continuously work on, so I hope we should be able to showcase this some more in the future.
So chemical reactions, which are the process in which two or more substances act mutually on each other and are changed into something different, like exothermic reactions, which, quite frankly, I studied before they were cool. You know what the worst thing about doing chemistry jokes is? No reaction. Chemistry puns. Really in my element. You can close the door, it's fine. Recently, members of our audio team traveled to Jönköping, Sweden, to record the sounds of chemical reactions that can be applied to a multitude of uses within Star Citizen.
In April of 2019, the Cloud Imperium Games audio team traveled to Sweden to a small, unassuming chemistry lab in search of some really cool sounds. Together with our friends from Pole Position Productions, we spent a day recording a bunch of crazy chemical reaction sounds to use in Star Citizen and Squadron 42.
lastly, before we let you go this week, in last week's sprint report, we gave you a brief look inside the current progress of the Banu Defender and promised we'd follow up on it in the coming weeks. And because you suffered through my chemistry jokes, we're just going to go ahead and let these exotic alien visuals speak for themselves. So what did we learn this week? We learned that the VFX team is making space magic that looks great and is less resource intensive. That chemistry jokes are a good way to get a overreaction, especially in the YouTube comments. And that the Banu Defender just looks rad as all get out. To our subscribers, be sure you check out the 6 new Life in the Verse t-shirts that were introduced as part of this month's in-game Flair reward. The character team was super excited to work on them for you. And to all the Star Citizens out there that make all of this possible, of course, we'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching. For the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42, you can subscribe to our channel, or you can check out some of the other shows, and you can also head to our website at www.robertsspaceindustries.com. Thank you very much for watching.